Dude. Come on, man. Dude, what are you doing? I can't get it. I'm trying to get this. We got Noemi Morquecho in the studio today. Yeah. I've been super excited. I'm trying to impress her by learning the French horn, which is what she started on. Dude, you play guitar. You play plenty of instruments. You're totally fine. French horn is not something that I think you're going to be able to master out of nowhere. Well, I wanted to try at least. I know, man. Give it one last shot and then get out of here so we can do this interview. Okay. Nope. This instrument is stupid. We're going to throw it out the window. I hate it. Dude, you got to go. I got to do two guys the same person. I know, man. All right, I'm out of here. Shit. Yes.
Thank you for having me on the pod.
Absolutely. I've been excited to have you here since, I'm going to say it's been a year now since you played the very first show I ever put on in my backyard that wasn't either one by myself or a Yardapalooza. So I know the story from Michael that he and the singer from Wine Dark Sea met getting haircuts.
Right.
But I don't really know Antillion before that. So I want to start with Antillion because that's what we're doing now. You got more going on, and then we're going to jump back and we're going to start from the beginning.
Okay.
But how did you get to my house? How did you meet Antillion?
How did I get to your house?
You know what I mean? Yeah. How did that happen?
I drove. No. How did I get to your house? Okay. Rewind. So me, Noemi, I was a music business student at UIC. My last year at UIC, I was my senior year. I didn't want to do band anymore, so I don't know if you know that I used to play, or I still play French horn, but it's like kind of weird where you have to take lessons for like a certain amount of semesters and then do concert band or wind ensemble with that. And senior year, I kind of like didn't want to do that. Kind of like going against the grain since all of my requirements were done. And I was just like, okay, let me try something different. So I auditioned to do what UIC calls the pop rock ensemble.
Totally.
Which is like, they just do covers of like either modern day pop songs or like old 80s rock kind of thing. Honestly, like whatever you can think of, but I was like, let me just do that because like I haven't like played guitar in a like a school setting. So I'm like, let me just try this. And it was like mainly just like pop chords on like a lead sheet kind of thing.
Totally.
And that's when I met Robert, who it was at the audition. So I was wearing a Dance Gavin Dance shirt, and he was wearing a Dance Gavin Dance hat, and we like I didn't see it at first, but he like I'm sure his eyes like darted in my direction, and like he walked over and he was just like, I like your shirt. And I'm like, oh yeah, I just got it at their most recent show at House of Blues. And then he's like, look at my hat.
That's Robert, for sure.
And then we just went down like a whole like spiel and everything about Dance Gavin Dance and like a lot of the niche bands that like kind of go along with it. Because you know, DGD is more of like the mainstream in that genre, so it was like kind of cool to like get to know someone that knew those like smaller bands. And like I honestly like didn't know anyone else at that point that had that interest like that. So yeah, I think we just like swapped snaps at that point. And then I think we talked like briefly back and forth, and then he hit me up about a jam session. And I was like, yeah, I'll show up. And then we met at Music Garage.
Yep.
That's when I met Bobby.
Okay.
Shout out to Bobby. So he was there.
For anybody who doesn't know, Robert's on drums. Other Robert,
Yes.
known as Bobby, is on other guitar. Noemi's on guitar. Then you've got Al and Mike. But we know about them. So continue.
Yeah. So, that was the first jam session was the first time I met Bobby. And, you know, like, as humans are, like, we are awkward and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure, like, the first few months that we were jamming, like, just the three of us and this one other guy who's not in the picture anymore.
Yep.
But that's unrelated.
Cool.
We were just playing covers. Like, we were just, like, messing around, like, Fall Out Boy, Paramore.
Totally.
Coheed stuff. Yes. And then at the end, we would just be like, do you guys want to jam on something? Like, do you guys want to write something? And then, yeah, it was just, like, very low pressure. So we were just, just very low pressure, jamming and everything. And then, Mike kind of, like, picked up the rest of the story. We got the ball rolling.
Yeah.
We were like, we need a lead singer eventually. And we wanted to do Battle of the Bands for DePaul. That was, like, one of our first deadlines that we were kind of looking towards. This was before Mike, by the way.
Yeah.
Backtracking a little bit. So Bobby, like, kind of had in the back of our heads, like, oh, like, maybe we want to do this. And I think because it was, like, still low pressure, we were like, we could just go as an instrumental band, maybe, because we're also into stuff like that. Like,
what are you going to do? Have fun?
Right. Like, right. Stuff like Covet, Chan, like,
Totally.
The bar, I mean, we were pretty, like, confident that we would put on a good performance at that point. So, we didn't end up following through with that, which is fine. But, then later on down the line, we met Mike. Mike was cool. Mike auditioned and everything. And in the chat, we were just like, I think it's pretty, like, I think we all, like, are kind of thinking the same thing. Like, we really want this guy.
Nice.
Yeah, and then that's how we got started. And then it was really, like, a quick turnaround with everything. Because I was graduating and my dad was planning this big joint graduation party for me and my sister.
Nice.
Who was graduating high school. And that was happening in, like, early June, I want to say.
Okay.
So almost I want to say it's almost been a year since that technically first show that we've had. And it's on YouTube if you look.
I will find it and link it.
Yeah, if you look us up on the tube, you'll find it's like a Antillion at the Depot or Noemi's graduation party. And
I heard about that. I actually talked about that because apparently the venue was super sick.
Yeah. So my dad, he recently he was a punk rock kid growing up.
Hell yeah.
He's Mexican, by
Shout
the
out,
way.
Dad.
Yeah, he's Mexican, but he didn't really, like, have he wasn't really much of a dancer, you know, like with the cumbia salsa stuff. He was more of the kid that just, like, stood in the back kind of thing. And he recently fell in love with a lot of, like, the dancing styles. So on regular operating hour days for that venue, they do, like, dance lessons. So he knew the guy that was the organizer or the owner. So he was just like, how much to rent this? How much to rent this room? And gave him a price. And then we ran with it.
Wow.
Yep.
So, okay. So you show up at the house, you do the show, you had just kind of graduated, it kind of had all just gotten started and really formed, which was really surprising because you guys brought a crowd to my backyard, which was really neat. That whole show was the first one here for us, was a really good time. Yeah. Now, that's kind of where we start. That's where we meet. I want to rewind, and I want to start from the beginning now.
Okay.
Where and why are you from?
Why am I from?
Yes, where are you from and why are you from there? Was your family there? Did you bounce around a lot?
Yeah, me, born and raised in Chicago. I live in Gage Park. It's kind of it's really close by Midway.
Okay.
Just to give like a scale.
General,
but my mom grew up in East Village, Northsider area.
Okay.
Like I said, my dad's from Mexico. You know, they met, did their thing. I'm here.
Shout out mom and dad doing their thing.
I'm here with my 3 other siblings.
Oldest, youngest?
I'm the oldest.
Okay.
Yeah.
How old's the youngest?
My youngest sister is 18. Yeah.
Okay.
She's the one I had the joint graduation party with.
Cool.
Yeah, she was graduating high school.
Giant of a spread. You don't have like
yeah,
a 3
yeah, we're really
brother.
close. really close in age and everything. So yeah, I've just been here. I went to high school around that area, or went to grammar school around that area.
Okay.
Went to high school a little more south. South side of Chicago, 99th and Kedzie, just to give you a general area. Grew up, it was an all-girls Catholic high school, but they had a pretty good music program. It was with they had a partner all-boys school.
Okay.
So they did like marching band and like concert band, all that stuff together. So yeah, I got to know like a bunch of cool people. Fun fact, like the person that I sat next to, so I played French horn.
Cool.
The person that I sat next to, same as Grant, he ended up being the guy that mixed and mastered like all of the EP, which is coming out later in June, July. Yeah. So it's like, it's really crazy how like
world.
it all
Chicago
came. Yeah.
It's a massively small town.
It's all like come like full circle. Like we were just like the weird kids in the back, like listening to like heavier music while like no one else like really understood it at that point.
But you guys bonded over that, and now here you are.
Yeah, now here we are. I'm like really glad to see like his growth throughout the years and everything. And he's been working with Robert's brother's band, Choose Your Character. I don't know.
Yeah, I know them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So he's getting more clientele, and he's kind of dabbled with the Ashbury scene. I don't know if you've heard of Ashbury, Willow Springs area. Yeah. So there are a few bands over there that he's worked with. So I'm really proud of him.
That's awesome. So you were a band kid.
I was a band kid.
French horn, all of it. Yeah, I was in the percussion and then in the pit and marching band. But I feel you.
So jealous.
It was pretty tight.
So jealous of y'all.
So when did like the punk stuff? Oh, I guess you said your dad was a punk rocker. So that kind of is already there at home, even just, you know,
I was
in
intrigued.
general.
I was intrigued.
So that's where it caught you caught the bug at home?
I definitely, I'll say that.
Is he a musician?
He's not. I mean, he had like I don't know if it was a Squier or a Fender, but he had a black telly just like hanging around all the time. He didn't know how to play anything.
I get it.
But he would just be like playing Smoke on the Water very badly.
Totally.
And I would like hold it and be like, oh my gosh, I want to play it. I think the first like riff that I tried to play by ear is Decode by Paramore.
Totally.
And I was like,
sure, it makes sense now.
I want to play. And he was like, okay, let's go to Guitar Center. And then he got me
super supportive right away.
Yeah, super supportive. And then he got me this acoustic guitar, and I ran that thing to shreds.
Good.
Just like playing so much stuff on it.
Your siblings play at all? Are they musical?
My brother had like a SoundCloud rapper moment.
Cool.
He's retired, but
nice early retirement.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's really just me. My youngest sister's a D1 water polo gal.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then my other sister's like a sorority gal. So we're all like kind of different in our own ways.
Do they dig it? Do they like your music?
I don't know if they like love it 100%. I know my brother has ending on his like playlist or something.
Nice.
They're definitely supportive. I don't know if they like it 100%, but they stream, which I'm glad.
Totally.
Like, we all support each other.
Absolutely. They're all doing their own thing. They've got their own kind of lives going on. Have they ever been to an actual show where you're playing something?
So besides the graduation party, my brother came to see me, not with Antillion, but with Lavender Point at the most recent Bottom Lounge show. So my sisters are away at college now, but when they come back, I'm trying to get them to come to a few of the summer gigs.
Anything, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're up to college. We figured out how you got into Antillion, but you're not just you're not just in Antillion. And then even your Instagram isn't caught up with everybody that you're in, because there are bands listed that I've gone to see you in that are not on your Instagram.
Yeah, maybe I should update it.
So everything you're actively in right now.
Yeah, so besides Antillion,
yep.
I've been with the band called No BetterToday for about maybe a little less than a year. I think I joined them maybe late July kind of thing.
Last year?
Yeah.
So Antillion was
Antillion,
the first one?
Antillion was my first band, first baby.
I get you.
And then I recently got on the Lavender Point wagon, which has been really fun too. Mm-hmm.
So, you're obviously you're playing guitar in all of them, but there's a different role in those bands that you're playing as a guitar player. With Antillion, I'm sure you're much more hands-on with the writing of the music. You know, like you said, it's your first baby. You were the one that they auditioned for you, so you know you're writing the songs and stuff. Do you tend to have or want to have a hands-on experience when it comes to the creation of the music, or are you okay just be like, tell me what to play?
I guess it kind of depends. Yeah, it kind of depends on the situation.
Do you write for any of the other bands other than Antillion?
So for No BetterToday, when I joined, all of the songs were pretty much written. I think as like rehearsals went on, I was kind of like, oh, I think this might sound good here. Input. For like a few songs, and then as we like kept playing, I was like, maybe like we should change like some of the drum parts here. We're really like critical on each other's. Not parts, but just like if something's like repetitive, we're just like, well, maybe we can do something different here.
Well, totally. Kind of it sounds like a really cool way to collaborate, because you're essentially shooting holes into each other's ideas before anybody else can. You're in a safe space. Nobody can hear this music, and we're gonna be honest and be like, just for shorthand, that sucks, that rules, whatever.
Right.
You need to be able to say that in that room, because if it's just like any action, if somebody can defend it, then you can defend it when the audience might say it. Be like, hey, that guitar sounds weird. Like, yeah, we actually talked about that, and we made that choice. So that's cool. Do you think you personally might have an issue if somebody was like, hands off, play what I write?
I think
depends on how they approach it.
It depends on how they approach it.
Could somebody really be like, I really want it to just be this?
Yeah, if it's like a really like hard no, and maybe they're like the main contributor of the song, then maybe I would like step back a little bit.
For
like,
sure.
Okay, I see your vision and everything. It was kind of like that for Lavender Point a little bit.
Okay.
So I learned the songs, and it was mainly chords.
Totally.
And I also like really dig like Midwest emo kind of stuff.
You got busy fingers parts. Usually, rather than
Yeah.
just kind of like I never remember the guy's name. The guitar player for Linkin Park.
Oh yeah, I forgot his name.
Sits on
too.
those chords, which is cool. I mean, and he'll have his moments, and I know that Minutes to Midnight was kind of an exploration for him. But you know, he sits on those power chords or whatever, or on those emo chords where you add that weird third in there. So you are just a musical person, because there are tons of people like studio musicians who are like, I'm not changing a thing. There's a right way to play this. You wrote it, right? I'm not going to change the guitar tone. I'm not going to change your drums. This is what you want, and that's all I want to do. I have one of my best friends is an incredible guitar player, and he like peaked at wedding band, like perfection.
Yeah, okay,
but
that's
he's
good.
like, but it's right?
Yeah.
There is no, we're not arguing about nothing. Nobody's got any input. So it's weird how vastly different musicians can be when being a musician seems so insular in and of itself. Right. I have to make these noises because the words aren't doing what I need my brain to say. So you know what I mean? So do you ever write full songs on your own, even if you don't go out and play them?
I think I'm like kind of good at starting like a good bare bones kind of thing.
Yeah, and then you look for that collaboration.
Sort of, kind of, yeah. Going back to Lavender Point, it was like mainly chords, but like they kind of also have the indie Midwest emo kind of thing. So I was like, I think my first rehearsal with them, which was like literally the only rehearsal we had before Bottom Lounge, I was just
that was impressive, by the way.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I was just like, what do you think about this, Hannah? Like, just like kind of like bouncing back and forth. And she was just like, oh my gosh, Noemi, you made that song sound like
good. That's good
like
on them for being open,
better.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you never know even if somebody else plays the exact notes that somebody else might have written, their fingers are different, they breathe different, your lungs are different. Everything is inherently different, so it's going to change it. And being open-minded, my drummer, Danny, has definitely changed whole chorus sections. Because he's like, try this. I'm like, duh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Open your mind to it. So that's really cool.
Some people, I know it's like kind of hard to accept because like in their mind it's like a little bit of like a setback kind of thing, or we're kind of backtracking. Like, oh, if we change this, like how will it fit in the context of like the next part kind of thing, which is like something that we had to like converse about. And everything, like, does it match with the vocals?
Yeah.
And that did like end up happening because so we have a EP coming out for Lavender Point sometime in July-ish.
Nice.
Busy, yeah.
Yeah.
But they had, before I joined, they had already recorded everything, and then they had some lineup changes, and then we had the rehearsal, and they're just like, damn, like, we should probably go back in the studio. But
films call them pickups. You got to go back, right? It happens.
Yeah.
Cool.
Gratefully all that's done. We just finished that literally yesterday. So I'm hoping to hear some of that in the near future. But yeah, I totally get the whole like different stances of songwriting and stuff like that. I mean, like it's your art, like it's your baby and everything,
right? But if you want people to touch it, you got to kind of like, you got to let there be a mom and a dad, or two moms or two dads, I don't care, but two, you know what I mean, if there's two parents, you got to leave room for the other to have a little bit of a say. So I want to hop back to college. You went to UIC. I'm a Columbia kid. And you were actually just on the UIC radio show. How was that? Just friends, you know them, and they were like, hop on the radio? You know, I know you've got stuff going on, so how'd that work out?
Yeah, so it's Nothing Personal Radio, hosted by Julia Castillo, who was the ex-member of Lavender Point.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah, so it was just like kind of like it made sense.
Totally.
And then I was on that show with Wazoo, my friend Philip, who I forgot to mention that I was in his band too.
Okay.
So yeah.
What's the name of that band?
It was just Wazoo. So
that's the name of the band.
He's a solo artist, and it was me and two people from the Your Mom band who was just here.
Absolutely. And are playing, I think, at Brothers.
Yeah, they are. Soon. Yeah, very soon.
Yep.
And then it was also Andrew from another Chicago band called The Trenchies.
Okay.
Yeah, indie rock kind of stuff.
Nice.
And yeah, we were just like just doing our own arrangements of the music, because what's on Spotify right now for him is just electronic, and we were just like, okay, like what are the chords, like let's like
you can translate it,
let's just jam on this.
Absolutely.
Kind of thing. Yeah, so he was on that show, he was on the show too. He was talking about his stuff. Eventually after things went on with shows and stuff like that, I kind of took like a booking agent role for him.
Nice.
Yeah, stepped away from the band, but like we got to talk about that. The process of like emails with other talent buyers and everything. Yeah. And then I got to talk about Antillion, and like I'm just glad that Julia like asked us to be on the show. So
genuinely, it was really cool. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of hats on. It sounds like you're not only you're in every band that's in the city. You do more than just play the guitar. You said you're getting into like this booking and understanding that whole arena.
Trying to,
right? Even if it just ends up being a skill you teach yourself, It's a cool thing to step into. Now, I was surprised that you also moonlight as a professional backup dancer, and I wanted to highlight on that.
Gosh. Oh my gosh.
So, but it was cool because that's a whole other just sect of Chicago doing its own thing that I thought was really cool. You had your finger on the pulse of, even if it's just some friend asks you, tell me about that whole avenue of your life.
Yeah. So, my good friend Mark, who was also a music business student, we graduated together.
Okay.
It goes by Push Like the Verb on Insta. So she's a new drag queen. I love drag. Before I met her, I was more just like mainstream, like RuPaul's Drag Race for anyone that watches out there and everything. Wasn't really immersed into like the whole Chicago scene. So honestly, like a lot of the stuff from like our scene translates.
Absolutely.
Like almost like direct.
DIY with different context.
DIY with different context for real. Yeah. And she was just like dipping her toes into like drag and stuff like that. I think she's like a natural performer. Like she gets on stage and she like kills it every time. But like, you know, I'm always down to help a friend, like even if I'm not good at it or anything.
If it's creative, if it's a friend, you're down. Whatever, fuck it.
And like we had like I think I've performed with her twice. Like the first time was at Sub T and the second time was at Hydrate nightclub.
Yeah.
Both times were a blast, and like we had like just like one or two rehearsals before, but it was like low commitment, but like I knew in my mind that I really wanted to like sell like ourselves and like not half-ass it, even if I'm not good at it. So I'm just gonna like try my best, because like in the context of like us practicing, it meant like her like winning the competition or whatever it was. So I'm just like, yeah, Push, I'm gonna ride or die for you. Like, even if I'm not a dancer, I'm gonna like push myself. And I literally was like practicing during my breaks at work.
Yeah.
I'll show you a video later of me of me practicing in like my work bathroom, and like someone knocks on the door, and I'm like, oh no, I'm like, oh, 1 second. Yeah.
So what drives you to be this brave and like ready for anything and creative, and I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. Everybody cares what everybody thinks, but you do anything. Like, what is that? Because dad was supportive, or you're a little bit fuck you world, let's go?
I kind of don't even know. Like, now that you mention it, I know there definitely was a time where I cared what people thought, and that was like very sad. I'm like, what the heck? Like, that's like this is your life. Why are you caring about what your grandma thinks or what the neighbors across the street think?
Right.
I honestly don't know when the turnaround was, but if I had to put my finger on it, I want to say maybe COVID, just because like COVID happened like end of my sophomore year, and then like didn't like start picking back up until late junior year, early senior year. And I don't know, maybe I'm being dramatic, but like everyone was making it seem like we were gonna die, so I was just like, well, I'm not gonna be a bio major anymore. Like, let me just try music business. I mean, like, I don't even think like school was ever for me to begin with, but I just couldn't see myself finishing bio like after. So I was just like, if something's gonna be like kind of useful for me, it would be this. So like, let me just bite the bullet. And then like me like telling my parents like, oh, I'm actually not gonna be a dentist. They were like, that's fine.
Cool.
That's fine.
Because it could absolutely ruin your trajectory if they made it a huge deal.
It sucks because it was just like, can I swear?
Of course.
It was just like shit that I made up. It was just like shit that I made up in my head. Like it was honestly like not even a thought that they were even thinking about. Yep. I think, I mean, there are a lot of people that have the pressure of like having immigrant parents and like wanting to be something bigger and everything. But I think people can still do that if they're not working in the medical field. I mean, it takes
Yes.
it takes a lot of acceptance to realize you're not fit for something and you're fit to do something else instead. So,
and it's an even bigger thing to do the thing that you should or might want to be doing.
Follow through.
And then to just be crushing it. You are busy. People adore you. You are an incredibly kind person and talented person.
Thank you, Ryan.
You're absolutely welcome. And it's so great that you're out here putting in the work. What do you have a plan for your future? I mean, as far as other than like eat, or are you, here's what I hope to, milestones. What are you thinking?
I think maybe if I've learned anything from like setting expectations, I mean, I think it's good and bad. Mm-hmm. I think people just have to be like more realistic, and like the first thing is just like accepting like what you can do in the certain moments, like in those small moments, setting small goals before like you reach for the big thing.
Yes.
So right now, I think, like, honestly, I'm just like trying to eat.
Yeah.
Just like trying to stay afloat, but also like I do have like small goals for the future. I'm kind of like a person that'll like manifest in silence and not really speak things out. I like, just because like I'm not saying I have enemies or anything, but just like people kind of prey on your downfall.
I get it. You don't got to speak it out.
I've seen it with other people.
Yeah.
But like not me necessarily, but like
you don't want to invite it.
I don't want to like just like talk my shit and then like, oh, it didn't happen, and then someone's like, hey, remember when you wanted to blah 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 blah. Not that that's like, I don't think that's bad or anything.
Yeah.
I mean I've
something
seen
you don't want to deal with.
I've seen my friends do that, like, oh, remember, not to me, but like to my other friends, like, oh, remember when you said you were going to release that album in October? It's 2 years later now. Oof. Like stuff like that. So, but like, I mean, I do see myself like being what I am now, but just like more elevated.
Okay.
So I think that honestly, that's fine.
I literally would almost, even if I were to give you advice, be like, do that. Do exactly what you're doing for a year. Because you got a lot of really hot cards in your hand, right? And it's all excellent.
Yeah.
And anything could pop off. They could all pop off. They're all kind of popping off. Everybody's, gaining more and more. I'm loving this entire scene.
For real, yeah.
Bands that you're not in. Name a few off the top of your head that you will try to catch anytime you can. Local, Chicago, or, adjacent area.
Mm-hmm. Damn. Okay. I saw Lucky Girl Syndrome at Reggie's on Easter.
Excellent.
I would love to catch them maybe like every show that they do for like the rest of their lives, because they're great. They kind of have that some of the same elements as Antillion, but they're very different. Their most recent single, Crack-a-Lackin', it's like post-hardcore, like to the core, but but it's got like that jazz blues influence, like in the middle. It'll be like bump 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 na 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 dun dun, which is like Band Kid Ringer in my head. So probably them, and I want to see what they release later on. Let me see. There's another band I know called Bottom Bunk. They're more like Midwest emo.
Cool.
Yeah, they have 2 singles out now that are just like, I was just running them back like all last year, and I think they are pretty popular now. And then probably 10 Month Summer. I hate that I couldn't be at the last show. That
it was cool, but they'll be around.
I know they'll be around. Yeah, they kind of have that. If anyone listens to La Dispute movements, they have like those influences, and then they're a little more ambient. It's just like I can hear the honesty in their music.
And just as people
they
too, showed up to the first, before I even knew them as a band. Niche and Charlie showed up. I think it was to your all's show.
Yeah, they were here. They were here. Yeah.
And that's how I met them. And they were like, "Who the hell are you? What the hell is this?" And I'm like, I'm just some guy trying to do cool shit. Mm-hmm. They invited me to the Bottom Line show, which is I was like, I think we're at the same show, and you were like then on stage, which cracked me the shit up. But we're trying to get them onto the podcast as the first full band. Like,
oh yeah,
at the same time.
Yeah, I'm wondering when you're gonna do like full bands on here.
So them. Okay. Because I've been trying to figure out how to like be able to dive into your story without 6 other people being all right, and then where did you go to high school? And where did you go to high school?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? I think 10 Month Summer is a great band to do that with for the first time and figure out that kind of conversational balance, because they are a lot of people who individually I want to know a lot about, and that can be really hard to get. It's hard enough to get 4 people in a band together, let alone get all 800 members of 10 Month Summer to come over individually and dive into their lives. So I think that's going to be a really good time. Outside of this genre, Midwest emo, guitar, rock, indie, whatever, if you're just by yourself with your headphones on, is there anything... I don't know if guilty pleasure is the right word, because I think this generation doesn't give a shit. Whatever it is, it's good. It's good. But what might people be surprised that you're listening to?
Oof. I mean, anyone that knows me just knows I kind of listen to anything. Like even country. I know a lot of people will say I'll listen to anything but country. Like I'll even listen to some like
I think
Lady
what they mean
Antebellum.
Is that bubblegum radio country. Because there's an entire genre. You know what I mean?
Maybe not.
And even then, that country. I think they get the best acoustic guitar tones of any recording industry ever.
I can see that.
But, I mean, there's more to country than red truck and drink a beer. There's an entire, God, I'm so worried to put the words South and heritage into the same sentence any fucking more. But there's a lot of folk storytelling and American history in country music. That then obviously money came in and swept it up and said, here, this Australian guy sounds like he's from the South. Let's make him $1 bajillion. But so, okay, country, you into musical theater at all?
I did like have like a musical theater playlist that I would listen to.
As a band kid, you almost have to.
Les Mis, I fuck with Les Mis.
Excellent.
And honestly, like probably like one song from like any musical out there. I mean, I already mentioned that one jazz thing and the Lucky Girl Syndrome song. That reminded me of like White Christmas. I played in the pit for White Christmas in high school. It instantly reminded me of that. But maybe someone might be caught off guard with like a hyperpop influence. I mean, I like EDM music. Sometimes that does shock people. Like, oh, like I thought you were like...
I thought you were a rocker.
Right. and then like out of the blue, I'll be playing like some Excision or something like that. But like...
Awesome.
As I mentioned, like about the drag scene and stuff like that, that's all like club music and everything. So like, honestly, like anything that like tickles my ear, something that I haven't like heard of before that like fits in its context, like I'll listen to it.
That's awesome. That's the sign of a true musician as well. Because you can take an influence from anything, right? It doesn't have to be like, I always listen to this genre now, it's my favorite genre of all time. You can garner anything from anything, and any riff can, I mean, it's like historical record that in the classical composer days, that they would like take a melody, slow it down, and that's your bass line.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Then you build on top of that. So having a wide array of influences is really cool. And I think it can flesh out your sound when you're writing your own music. Because I know that your bands are, you could say Midwest emo if you want to, but they all have their own identities. And I think it's because we're in a generation of playlist listeners who don't have 5 Motley Crue albums, right? They have one Motley Crue song and 500 other things that are not even fucking related.
Yeah.
And that bleeds into, if there's a creative output musically, into where that all gets dragged from. That's really cool. Okay, let's talk practicing. Because you are a really solid guitar player on stage. Just, you are always in control, you're always focused, and you're able to rock out.
Because there's whole bands. I mean, math rock excluded. I know you got to focus. But there are some people you can tell, like, this guy or girl or they is fucking terrified. They're not moving. They're not blinking. I've been that guy. You know, where I'm like, focus, don't mess up, don't mess up. But do you have a regimen that maybe you've taken from music school? Do you approach it a little bit more casually? Because that in your brain is like, practice. I hate it. How do you do it?
It has to be coming from, like, doing wind ensemble. Like, I didn't know. I mean, like, people did warn me that French horn was, like, the hardest instrument, but I was like, damn, how hard can it be? But it's, like, the way that it's different from the trumpet is, like, the accuracy is, like, miles away off. It was, like, weird playing mellophone in marching band, and the note was always accurate. I was thinking A would come out, but in a French horn mouthpiece, it would maybe be like D or something else. But that was when I was like, damn, muscle memory is important, and I ran with that ideology, like in wind ensemble, and then like to guitar playing, I was just like, okay, because I honestly I can't help myself, like if I'm moving. A lot of that stuff just comes like naturally.
Yes. It means you're comfortable in that moment. You're not hyper focused on not being wrong.
Yeah, right? Mainly because like I played the riff like a million times, and even like if I do like mess up, it's like, oh well, at least I was moving around to make up for it.
There's a
kind of
somebody from like Skip Greer from the Dead Kennedys, current lead singer, did a play in Moline, Illinois. We had a chance to speak, and he said, when you're in Australia and there's 50,000 people screaming for the Dead Kennedys, you shake your ass and you win and you go home rich. When I'm here putting on a play, I'm the only one in the room talking, and I'm terrified. So there is a context to where you're at a show, and we're there to have fun, versus like, say, you're recording the song, and you don't really want to move and dance around even if you're having a good time, because this is supposed to be the perfect listening experience. So do you enjoy performing or recording more?
Okay. I'll say performing.
Yeah?
Just because, I don't know, for some reason, anytime like I get behind anytime they plug me up and they're like, okay, you have a 4 count. For some reason, as soon as I hear that, like everything just goes out the window, and I'm just like, okay, that was like bad. So can we just like loop that for a second? It literally happened yesterday. Like I'll play it live perfectly,
totally,
and then it's like it comes time for recording, which is like in the back of my head, I know it's something that is gonna haunt me for the rest of my life if I do like mess up and then we follow through with it, because you know sometimes the engineer won't tell you like, oh, this kind of sounds a little bit off, but like you know so I'm just like, damn, can we like either like give me a second or like let me loop this and let's find the best take. So I'll say performing, honestly.
So it's when everybody's kind of hyper focused on you for this one recording that is never going to change.
Right.
That's a little too
it's a little too nerve-wracking.
Okay, so we've covered your history, we've covered your present, we've covered your practices. I want to dip, before we get out of here, I want to dip into the future a bit. I have not about your specific plans. I know you've got shows coming up. We've got a show coming up, actually, July 6th.
July 6th.
Which is going to be a really good time. I've got a really kick-ass set list that you guys are going to be excited for.
Nice.
But in regards to the future, I specifically want to ask you about AI.
Oh,
and how you feel about the encroachment of artificial intelligence on the music
industry. Okay, so it is, like, kind of scary. I haven't heard, like, many examples. The first time I was kind of exposed to like the idea of it in music was during one of my classes. My mentor, Robert DeFazio, he was just like, okay, this is the future. Isn't this scary? And then he didn't elaborate at all. And it was just kind of like bunch of like I think he like literally typed in like chord progressions that haven't been used before, and then like so many came up, and then he didn't really like ask us about it. He was just like, this might be the future of how people write music. He was like very blunt about it too. It was just like, look at all these progressions to choose from. People might use these later on and everything. So yeah, it was just like an early scare.
Yeah.
But honestly, I haven't had much time to think about it. Just in the case, like, I don't know if it would be that noticeable kind of thing. I would have to hear it in context. Like, if there's like a first like artist that's like all AI
right.
and everything, like, how do you sound?
I also
is it noticeable?
Personally feel like the AI generative music thing, while I understand the fear that's coming from like this is a robot making a thing, you and I specifically know the physical effort it takes to get people in a room together, not just to play, but to then get 50 more people to listen, and how connected you feel to those people, even if you do mess up. Because even if you go home and you've been kicking your own ass in your head for screwing up that riff, there were 10 people at that show that patted you on the back and said, what a great time. What a fun time I'm having. Awesome. I personally see it as just the next tool. They said the same thing about Pro Tools. I'm sure they said the same thing about electricity going into guitars. I'm sure they said the same thing about guitars when it used to be just old people in a ancient church humming about God. Yeah. And, you know, and somebody came out with a guitar and they were like, the fuck is that? Yeah. There it goes. There goes all of history. So, okay. So it kind of makes me sad that a professor would just kind of put fear, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that was
versus
kind of
a conversation, even if it's scary to you.
It was kind of his personality kind of thing. He was more of like a big like facts guy. But I think the main message that he was trying to portray was like, at the end of the day, it takes more than just the music to like be big, quote unquote, big or anything, because just like the rest of that course was just like advertising and like I get it, making an image of yourself. Okay, and everything.
So it was, I guess you did say you were in the music business portion of school, so I can see how maybe from a business perspective, yeah, that might be a little crazy. Well, I guess we'll only have the rest of forever to figure it out. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
Noemi, when is your next concert for you to play in? The very next one.
Okay, so my next show will be April 20. Ooh, let me fact check that real quick. I don't know if it's the 28th or the 29th. Okay. April 28th at WC Social Club.
Excellent.
No Better Today will be at we'll be there for a mini fest. And then later that week, May 4th, may the 4th be with you, Lavender Point at Beat Kitchen.
Excellent. I love Beat Kitchen.
I've never played there.
I will be there. I am so jealous. I want to know all about it. But Antillion's got a new one. You guys are playing at Brothers, yeah?
Brothers later this month. Let me see. May 16th.
With Little Green Men?
Correct.
Yep. Yeah, it's the really cool poster with a praying mantis on it. I really like it. Sick. Well, if you're in Chicago, catch Noemi. You fucking better. She's in like a million trillion things. You just heard all about it. You can come see me at any of my stuff as well going on. I'll tell you where Noemi's playing, and you can go and see her. Noemi, thanks for coming out, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. This was a great time.